This is Louis Trapani, and on behalf of Doctor Who Podshock, welcome to the 200th episode of Discussing Who. I was forced to say that. Now untie me! I say untie me already! This is inhumane, and in Gallifreyan as well.
Welcome back, everyone. This is Discussing Who, and not only is it Discussing Who, it is the 200th episode of Discussing Who. And I want to start out before I even get to introducing myself and everyone else by saying a big, huge Doctor Who thank you to one person in particular, and that person would be Louis Trapani. Because if it were not for Doctor Who Podshock, if it were not for Louis, I would have never met Lee. I know everyone's probably already heard this. I would have never met Lee. Lee would have never met Clarence. Clarence would never have met Nicole or Lee, or I wouldn't know everybody that we know. So it all goes back to Louis Trapani. And for that, my friend, thank you. Thank you, thank you, thank you. So who am I? I'm Kyle Jones, and I want to say let's welcome back Nicole. Nicole, how are you?
I'm doing well. Hello, everybody.
Howdy, howdy. What's been going on with you?
I wish I could say, really interesting stuff, but it's mostly been organizing the house. So that's been my lockdown strategy, is doing all those little things that you just never got around to doing.
Can be interesting, though.
Yeah. I should actually be working on my podcast, but I haven't had the concentration for it, so. Well,
we're glad that you joined us back again, because your first time on the show was episode 79, where I talked about Terminus, your podcast, now that you're mentioning Terminus.
Oh, yes.
And you actually joined the three of us for the very first time on episode 100. So I think it's just poetically ironic that you're back with us for 200.
Yeah, I totally planned that. I did.
Yay.
Yay.
So I want to welcome back someone else, and that someone else is going to be none other than Mr. Clarence Brown himself. Mr. Brown, how are you?
I'm doing well, man. Doing well. Glad to be on with you guys. And as you mentioned, Louis, I just went to search for Podshock just out of curiosity. And you are halfway, well, a little over half as many episodes as Podshock, which I thought they had way more than that. I'm looking. Mm-hmm. I could be wrong. I've seen 343 as the last number.
No, that was the last
number.
That's right. Yep.
Wow, I thought it was way more than that for some reason.
There was a period of time, and Lee, keep me honest here. There was a period of time right after hurricanes or superstorm Sandy that Louis was unable to make because of everything that had happened, was unable to make new episodes. So that's kind of put a hiatus, would you say? A good...
Certainly a damper.
Yes.
Yeah, because I think he even recorded in a shed or something, a few episodes. It was pretty hardcore at the time.
Yeah. So again, Louis, I know you're with us in spirit because you're somewhere out there and your voice is always just like in the ether. So cheers to you. And also, I couldn't say this any more better than cheers to you, Mr. Lee Shackleford.
Hi, guys.
How are you?
I'm pretty good. I'm pretty good for, the world is falling apart, but, I'm fine.
Yeah, man.
I'm fine.
We've got each other.
Well,
we're on the life raft together.
Yeah, it's really true. It's
yeah.
So we'll stick together.
There you go.
Light in the darkness.
There you go.
Yeah.
And many people have I've noticed that in a lot of podcasts and TV shows that I've been seeing, TV shows that go out live, that people are often saying thank you to the hosts of the show or to whoever is responsible, saying, your show gives me a half hour of something else, and I just really appreciate it. I was just noticing that a lot of people were doing that, and one of my favorite things about Wholanta, I told Alan Sider this, was Sophie Aldred thanking him for doing this just at a time when everybody needs it.
Yeah.
And he was in the process of thanking her. I think he was a little surprised to have her thanking him. But, she's right. She's right.
And they need it too.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
So yeah, it all goes to say if we're going to give if we're giving people just a little bit of fun and distraction right now with this show, then my goodness, our living has not been in vain. So
I'm wondering. I know, of course, Doctor Who talks about World War II and things like that, but like more recent, maybe worldwide events that are very impactful, like 9. Well, I guess it's not worldwide, but 9/11 and things like that. Katrina, does it tackle world events like that? I don't notice that as much, but maybe you guys can enlighten me.
No, I mean, there was some stuff in the 70s, but that was more local to Britain. A lot of like the miners' strikes and some of the, issues with
Thatcher.
Yeah, just Thatcher in general. I was like going to name a bunch of stuff, and that's good. Yeah, Thatcher. But as far as worldwide events, I can't think of any. I could be wrong.
Yeah, nothing's leaping to my mind either. I was just wondering, is the most recent, I don't know, sort of historical that they've tackled been Rosa?
Yeah, I was thinking about that.
Yeah, basically.
That seems incredible. What I say,
unless you talk about the environmentalism stuff, that would go during the roulettes. But
and I can see why they would shy away from that. But seems like it would be more of it. I don't know.
Maybe next season. We'll see.
We'll see. But I want to reference back to something, Nicole, that you said, because it's actually a phrase that I used to Clarence and Lee last night when we were talking about exactly what we're talking about now, is kind of being a light in the darkness. And what I'm about to say is not, and I'm ad-libbing this, but it is not to make us sound or be more self-important than we absolutely are, because I understand by all means we are a Doctor Who podcast for all intents and purposes. That being said, for everyone listening, regardless of where you come from, how old you are, what you do in your own time, who you are, we don't care. We're glad that you're here. You mean something to us. We're glad you're here. And we hope, like Lee said a minute ago, that however long this episode is, we take your mind off of whatever is going on in the world and you enjoy it and you mean something to us. We love having feedback and we appreciate it. But that being said, we're just glad you're here and be happy. So.
Yeah, definitely.
There's the showrunners of one of my other favorite podcasts always like to say, thank you for listening because you didn't have to.
Very well said.
You got other things you could be doing, but we appreciate you being here for this. So.
Or in the words of Doctor Who, build high for happiness.
Yeah.
More Paradise Now.
I'm going to say. Which brings us to the news,
or
doesn't it?
Happiness Will Prevail. That's another one.
Well, I want to, speaking of news, I want to actually go back to something that you guys have already hinted upon. And that was, of course, this weekend. We had Wholanta 2020 when we believed in 2019 that Wholanta had been put to rest for a little while. But we had a virtual TARDIS and we had Wholanta. So, Lee, initial thoughts, summary view, Wholanta 2020. What'd you think?
Oh, I just had the best time. It was just, talk about taking a break from the rest of the world. I got to go to Wholanta with the three of you.
Yes. And we saw Nicole.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, in the chat room.
Right. And we saw Sophie Aldred and Colin Baker and Rachel, whose last name I still can't say.
Talalay.
Yeah.
I finally learned how to say it.
There you go. It helps to hear her say it, doesn't it?
Yes. All right. So, Clarence, if I were to ask you, put you on the spot and say, what was your favorite thing that you saw? What was your favorite part of this experience this year? What would you say that is?
Oh, it had to be Sophie Aldred, man. Just it's something about having her and Alan having that one-on-one conversation with all of us listening in, of course, and just being in her house. I always just thought that was really cool as well. I really enjoyed everything she had to say. Hearing about some of her other projects and acting experience. I really enjoyed listening to all of that. And also, I forget the name of the property, but this other independent film thing that she had that Alan had the had the DVD for it. I can't remember. It escapes my mind right now.
Right.
But
yeah, it's about Syl. Yeah,
yeah, I didn't know that existed until then. But so I very much enjoyed her, and just felt a bit closer just with that one-on-one conversation, like I was sitting right next to her having a conversation with him. Yeah, so I really enjoyed that. Man.
Cool. All right, Nicole, what was your favorite moment? Favorite point?
Well, okay, so one thing I really liked about the particular choice of guests is they're not only like really big fans of Doctor Who themselves, but they're also big fans of Wholanta. Sometimes you'll get a guest that's just kind of like, you can tell they're kind of there for the money. They're not 100% into it. But Colin Baker is, he loves Wholanta and he loves Alan.
Yeah.
And Sophie Aldred does as well. And of course, Rachel Talalay. And it was just nice to have that energy where you could tell they really wanted to be there. And they were just fun. Like Colin's always fun, but they were like, there was that familiarity that kind of made it like not like a stiff interview. It was kind of like fun. And I loved when Colin was like joking about how Alan had Buffy the Vampire Slayer behind him on the thing. And he's like, but I had the Doctor Who DVDs, and he had him face out the one with Colin on front,
Yeah, that was good.
For the Trial of the Time Lord. And I thought that was hilarious because and the dogs, the issues with the dogs.
Oh, I love the dog. That was going to be my favorite. I love the dog.
Yeah. I love the whole thing with the dogs. It was just so funny. So I think those are my favorite parts. They were just simple, but they were fun.
So my takeaway was, yes, I enjoyed everything that you guys just said, but considering the fact that this brainchild of an event was cooked up about a month ago in Alan's head, this was very, very well executed. It just seemed to flow. It felt like I was actually going to a con that ended. Some of them may have ran just a little bit too long, just like any con would. But you had, all you needed to do was refresh your Facebook live. And I actually put the app on my Apple TV. So I'm like, I'm on my iPad chatting and I'm watching it on the TV, which was a cool experience. So kudos to Alan and whoever it was that was helping him, that was running things behind the scenes. Kudos, very, very, very well done.
Absolutely.
And it became like an international thing because there were people in England that were
New Zealand. Yeah.
And
yes.
Yeah, I love that because not everybody can make it to Atlanta, so that was perfect.
So Nicole, I think you have a couple of more items of news if you would like to share the news.
Oh yes. Okay. So the first bit of news was there's a lockdown comedy coming out called Stage that's starring David Tennant and Michael Sheen, who of course both have been on Doctor Who. And from what I understand, let's see, I found the snippet of it. It says it will consist of 6 15-minute episodes and revolve around the cast of a play, the cream of the crop of British acting talent who are furloughed when their upcoming West End production is suddenly brought to a halt, with the lockdown. It basically follows the cast as they try their best to keep rehearsals on track while in lockdown. And it's kind of done on like Zoom or one of those sort of things. And so it has, David Tennant, Michael Sheen. It has Georgia Tennant. It has Anna Lundberg, who's Michael Sheen's partner. It has, I think they just announced Nina Sasanya, who has been in a lot of things with David Tennant, but she was in Fear Her as well. She was the mom. And they're just going on and announcing random people. So it's just one of those, I'm really appreciating the little things that some creative, people like actors or writers are doing in lockdown. They're just kind of finding like, what can we do within this medium? And so I'm really excited to see that special. I think it said, it's starting on June 10th on BBC One. I'm not really sure. I think it's going to be online as well, but I don't know the details yet. I think they're still working it out.
Awesome. Yeah, I've been wondering about that as well. If it's on the iPlayer, most of us won't be able to see it anyway. But here.
My guess is it's going to get some sort of international thing. It might not like right away, but they would be dumb to not put that out. But,
because all of us in the theater, as you can imagine, are scrambling to figure out how we're going to keep doing what we do. So when I heard there was going to be a show with David Tennant and Michael Sheen about people struggling to do this, I said, I'm on board for that. Got to see it.
Yeah, they had like a little trailer that just looked really adorable. It was just a clip. But
so cute.
Because they have such a great chemistry. So I think it's going to be really funny and realistic. As you said, a lot of people are going through that right now.
Exactly.
So, and let's see, the other one I had, which if anyone knows me, they know I'm a massive Andrew Cartmel fan, possibly the biggest fan. And he has a book called Script Doctor that came out, I believe, in 2013, but it's gone out of print several times. But it's recently been reprinted for a limited run through, I think it's called, actually, I have no idea how to pronounce the name of the production company. It's MIWK. Milk? I have no idea. Or maybe it's MIWK.
Yeah.
But, and it's just right now, they just marked it down to 16 pounds, which I did a Google search, and that's about $20 US. And every copy is autographed. And the really good thing about the book is it's basically Andrew Cartmel's diaries from when he was the script writer or the script
editor. Yeah.
Editor. That's the word.
Yeah.
The script editor back during his time during the Seventh Doctor era. And essentially he was the showrunner. So if you are interested in like the making of Doctor Who, making of television, just little bits of stuff like that, it's a really great read. When it was republished last time a few years ago, I read it in a week, and I could have probably read it quicker. I just had other things going on, but every night I had to make myself go to bed because I was just reading. So definitely would highly recommend that. And I can give a link to Kyle or whatever to buy that. I am definitely a cheerleader for that book. I was even sitting with Andrew Cartmel at Conquest a few years ago, and I was selling that book for him. Like, people would come up, and I ended up selling all his copies for the weekend. So,
Go you.
Yeah, because I just was so hyped about it. So, but yeah, it is one of those that's kind of hard to find usually. So if it's something you're remotely interested in, you might want to grab it soon because, as I said, it's a limited run. So,
and I can back that up too. I may have been one of those people who bought the book because you were there pushing them.
Back then, yeah.
But so mine is autographed by him in person, and then But it really is. It is a fascinating look at a very challenging time for the show.
Yes.
And where so often they said, well, everything that we've planned isn't going to work, and time is money. So what are we going to do, Andrew?
Right.
And he'd go, how about this? And
even like him starting, he was talking about, and I won't go into this forever, but like in the office that was going to be his office, it had been Eric Sayward's office, and Eric Sayward left like angry, like he left, and they couldn't get into his filing cabinets. They were all locked. So they like had to have someone come in and like break into the cabinets. Like, it was just such a mess. But yeah, they just kind of dropped him in the middle of it and was like, okay, there you go.
Yeah. Big problems. Start solving.
Right.
Yeah.
And he was only like about 27 or 28 years old. He was very young.
Yeah.
So, but yeah, excellent book. I own 2 copies. I went ahead and bought a second copy.
All right. Cool. I say, unless you guys have anything else, I say let's get into the reason why we're here today. What say you?
Why are we here today?
Why are we here? I don't know. Maybe to discuss this Doctor Who? Maybe?
Okay, yeah.
Yeah, that's good.
Yeah.
All right, cool.
And
so,
bicentennial episode.
Esoteric we were going to get, so.
Yeah, that's right.
All right, so I want to give credit real quick to Clarence for coming up with this idea, because he used this premise that I'm using on a recent episode of Discussing Trek, and I went to the internet trying to find a similar image that you see for anyone listening in the show notes. You'll see this image that is our ultimate Doctor Who villain. So I couldn't find anything. So I was like, you know what? I will just make one myself. So I did. So that, yeah.
Oh, I didn't realize you made this. That's awesome.
Beautiful.
Yeah, what we're riffing off of is there was one released by StarTrek.com on their Twitter account. They kind of posted a Star Trek version of this, and we did an episode on it. So here's the Doctor Who version. Yay.
Cool. Cool. So yeah, I wanted to give, credit where credit, because this was not my brainchild. It was someone else's, but it is Doctor Who centric. And you know what? I'm going to ad lib something because I just so freaking much enjoy doing this. So I'm going to say, if you do not know who any of the Doctor Who villains are, go out, watch whatever episode you want to watch, come back, because from this moment forward, chances are there's going to be spoilers.
Spoilers. Spoilers. Spoilers. Spoilers.
Alrighty. Very weirdly, but we are back and we are ready to talk our ultimate Doctor Who villain. So the way this will work is we have round one. This will go into round two. Then we'll go into a head-to-head of whoever this is going to be that's going to win. So let's start with the first two in our list, the Great Intelligence versus the Weeping Angels. And I will say really quick that the Great Intelligence first appeared in the Abominable. Oh, say that for me, someone.
Abominable.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Yes.
Thank you. So much better.
That's why in Rudolph the Red-Nosed Reindeer they call him a Bumble.
Yeah.
Or better yet,
Just call it Bumble Snowman.
How about this one?
The one with the Yeti.
Yeah. The Great Intelligence appeared in a story also I'm going to call as The Yetis in 1967, and The Weeping Angels appeared first in Blink in 2007. So head to head, and Clarence Brown, I want to see what you think. Clarence Brown, what say ye? Great Intelligence, Weeping Angel, who wins?
I feel like this is very pointed because I love the Weeping Angels. And of course, you mentioned the tentpole episode for them, I feel, which is Blink. I just think they're a wonderful invention of a villain. I love the premise of, when you're looking at them, they're stone, basically. When your back is turned, they're out to get you. Then also there's the added thing of them sending you into the past to harvest your energy. And so that's a thing. And it plays a pretty big plot point in many episodes, especially for some of our characters that we really love by the end of their runs. No spoilers. So yeah, they're very important, but again, also the Great Intelligence is pretty important as well. So my vote is for the Weeping Angels, and I'm sure somebody will tell us why the Great Intelligence is so important.
All right, Lee Shackleford, who's your pick?
I think I have to ask. I can never play a game like this without questioning the rules. What are we trying to prove ultimately? What? Our ultimate Doctor Who villain, do we mean the one that seems like the best idea? The one we hate the most?
Out of this, see that in itself is the actual thing that the trap that I fell into playing the Star Trek version, because I saw Q on the list and immediately it wasn't even a game for me. It was, Q has got to be the winner, but that's not how it played out. So go ahead,
I'm
Claire.
going with which one I like the best. Which everyone knows I'm an Omega fangirl, so we know how this is going to end. No.
He's an empty suit.
So maybe the answer.
He's got the frowny face. He's got the frowny face.
So maybe.
So
maybe the answer to your question is in this random matchup, who would be the ultimate survivor? How about that?
Well, the Great Intelligence, if kind of in terms of body count, you got to give it to the Great Intelligence. I mean, if this is because that villain keeps turning up, as you say, now for 50 years, getting on for 50 years, and leaving a death toll And the Weeping Angels, as the 10th Doctor says, they just make you live to death. I don't know.
All right. So, Nicole, are you going to be the tiebreaker?
Yeah.
Well, okay. So I did give this a lot of thought. And I love the Great Intelligence because I'm a big Troughton era fan. Though I do also love the turn of the Great Intelligence in, the Moffat era as well. But I decided on the Weeping Angels because they're more iconic. And that was the way I went with this particular one. Now, that might change with my criteria for some of the other ones. But in this case, I think the Weeping Angels are more iconic and more known. And so I'm going to go with that, mostly because I'm indecisive.
Okay.
Yeah, and forgive my Doctor Who ignorance here, because I didn't even know the Great Intelligence was a part of Classic Who. I thought it just was pretty much all New Who, and played such a big importance in New Who with the whole Clara thing all the time. So, yeah, I don't know. I still err toward the Weeping Angels once again, but I do feel like, I just wanted to say, do feel the Great Intelligence is like really, really important as far as just Doctor Who, the history as well.
And the Great Intelligence thinks they are very important too. So there is that.
Yes.
See, I am going to sound like I'm playing the middle of the road, but I think they would cancel each other out because I don't think the Weeping Angel, I don't see the Great Intelligence as an organic being. I see it more as a disembodied intelligence.
Mm-hmm.
The Weeping Angels affect living matter, people. That's how they survive. Therefore, I think if you put them against each other, I think they would negate each other. I mean, in other words, they couldn't do anything to harm the other.
Oh.
Now,
that is playing it down the middle.
I think the ultimate question is who would make the best grilled cheese sandwich? That's how you decide.
Possibly. Yeah. No, I was going to suggest that I think maybe have you ever seen any Great Intelligence merch? No, you have not.
No.
Good point.
Though you wouldn't want to see Weeping Angels merch because doesn't that become an angel?
An image of an angel is an angel.
Oh my God! I gave Clarence a Christmas tree ornament with the Weeping Angel.
Right now.
Don't look
Don't look at it.
Whatever you do,
or keep looking.
Don't.
Yeah, if you don't look at it, you're doomed, right?
Yeah. Okay, well, keep looking at it at least for 400 more episodes.
Two angels at each other. That's
ultimate trick.
That's right.
I had to like the Great Intelligence seems like something. It doesn't seem like not a great idea unto itself. It seems like something anybody could have came up with. But I feel like there's a bit of intelligence with how the Weeping Angels work. I feel like it's a really great concept that took some thought. And yeah, I think that's what puts it over the top for me.
Executive decision based on everything you guys said and Lee's merchandising comment. This round goes to the Weeping Angels.
Ding, ding, ding.
Okay, so this next one is going to be so difficult. The Dream Lord versus Tim Shaw.
Tim Shaw.
Anybody?
Dream Lord obviously is going to win because I love the Dream Lord and that's my favorite new series episode. And I hate Shaw. I hate Tim Shaw. Hate. So that one's easy for me.
And I don't have any time for either of them, so I don't know what to do there.
All right, Clarence, what say you?
Yeah, I actually had to look up the Dream Lord because I did not remember it all.
Mm-hmm.
But as you know, I looked at some YouTube videos, did some research. I did come back to me, and I do remember liking that episode as well. And in a sense, isn't he another doctor? I'm pulling up quotes here. In a sense.
Yeah, he's kind of like the Valyard version of the Doctor. You know?
Yes. So for that alone, I think I give him a win. And plus, Tim Shaw, I can't stand the sight of him. Although he does come back at the end of the season to play a semi-important role. I don't know what they're going for there, but he does. No, he does come back.
You're being too nice. He came back.
Vader Shaw, though. Vader Shaw, I like that.
Okay. I respect your your niceness, and I remember Vader Shaw, but still, it's Tim Shaw. Ugh.
All the teeth.
Yeah, all the teeth. Dream Lord. That's what we're going with because I really don't really, no offense, Nicole, I really didn't like him either. But if I had to put him up against Tim Shaw, Dreamlord, hands down.
No problem.
Yeah. And I mean, to be fair, I like him as a concept. Like, I think that the particular story is very meta about, the Doctor and his friends and his relationship to his friends. And so I think he was a great catalyst for that. So, from that perspective, I like him.
Cool. So I would be remiss to not forget that I need to say that the Dream Lord appeared in Amy's Choice 2010. Tim Shaw first appeared in The Woman Who Fell to Earth in 2008. All right. This next one actually should be quite interesting. The next one up is Dalek Khan versus Patient Zero.
By whom you mean Prisoner Zero, of course, but yeah.
Was it? Oh, yeah.
Oh, yeah, Prisoner Zero.
Oh, I said patient. I need to change that. Yes. Prisoner Zero, not Patient Zero.
We've all got
Say what now?
You got the pandemic on the brain.
Yes.
Yeah.
I probably did whenever. So Prisoner Zero first appeared in The 11th Hour in 2010. Dalek Khan first appeared in Army of Ghosts 2006. So I'll start with this one. I'm actually going to go with Dalek Khan. I love the twist that he got in the episode Journey's End. And I like the fact that he just kind of turned the tables on Davros. So for that alone, I think that was brilliantly done. It was a cool twist. And Patient Zero was pretty much just another example of you had the woman that is in The Crown, and I can't remember her name right now.
Olivia Colman.
Thank you. And you made her.
She's in everything.
Prisoner Zero. So that's me. I'm going with Dalek Khan. So I'm going to start, I guess, Nicole. Who do you say? Patient Zero? Prisoner Zero.
Prisoner Zero. I have a lot of Dalek Khan feels. When I showed Hope, my wife, that Dalek Khan was on this list, she laughed because she knows back when, we had Dalek Khan in like Journey's End when he was like so loony and like, and it flew through the time vortex. I was like, he's the greatest thing. I want him on the Doctor's console and have a spin-off show where they're like, traveling through the universe together. And he's speaking nonsense, and the Doctor's like, "Oh, Dalek Khan." Oh, in a laugh track. I don't know why. I just.
He is here. The Dark Lord is come. He flew into the wild and fire. I danced and died 1,000 times.
I thought he was so hilarious, and not like he was that great of a villain, but a whacked out Dalek was just something I didn't know I needed until I saw it. And so I also love Prisoner Zero because I love Olivia Colman, but I'm going to have to go for Dalek Khan just because I wanted the spinoff back then. So Dalek Khan is my man.
All right. So Lee Shackleford.
Should we count Dalek Khan as a villain? I mean, he does kind of save the day in Journey's End, doesn't he? I mean,
that's true.
Yeah.
But I'm with Nicole. I just love him because he's stark, staring bonkers.
And I like those kind of people.
Exactly. I just love his nutsness. Yeah. And, yeah.
All right. Clarence Brown.
I'm telling you, spinoff.
Yeah, you're not wrong.
Yeah, well, I agree that Dalek Khan is probably going to win this. I'll play devil's advocate a bit. I like Prisoner Zero as a concept of an enemy being hidden away, if I remember correctly, being hidden away in Amy's house for years and years and years with this perception filter in his room that she didn't even know existed. Mm-hmm. I think that's a pretty cool concept. So for that reason alone, I like how it was the first basically enemy we got in Matt Smith's run. So yeah, I like it, but of course it's not going to win against Dalek Khan.
Cool. So this one, I'm going to have fun with this one. This next one, head to head, is the Nestine consciousness that we first saw in Spearhead from Space, 1971, and Vasta Narada, which we first saw in this episode from 2008 called Silence in the Library. One of my favorite shows, just FYI. So Clarence Brown.
Is it?
Yes. I wonder why. Or you can send us an email to host@discussingnetwork.com or leave a voicemail on our Discussing Who call box at 805-850-DWHO or 3946. So let me give just a...
That includes people who just want to call in and say, what is Kyle's problem?
Yes, because I have volumes. And you know where my volumes go? In the library.
Too bad there's no one there to read it.
Cool.
Or a librarian saying, shh.
Silence in the Library. This was the 8th episode of the 2008 series of Doctor Who. It originally aired on the 31st of May, 2008. It stars Alex Kingston as Professor River Song, and it featured David Tennant as the 10th Doctor, along with Catherine Tate as Donna Noble. I don't know.
You like that story?
Yeah, never would have guessed.
Yeah, there's that pond person in it, right?
Yes.
Something about a water.
Yeah.
Water.
Something like that.
The only water, something about a forest. Yeah, something.
Oh, yes, that's right. Yeah.
All right. So Clarence Brown, I just want to ask you this one first, considering that this came from Spearhead from Space. Curious. What say you?
I don't know. This one is hard for me. It's probably a toss-up for me. I like the Nestine consciousness, and the reason is I don't really equate the Nestine consciousness itself with being the part of its run that I identify with. I always identify with the Autons. That's what I think about when I hear Nestine consciousness, and that's what I physically see in my brain. So I like them. I really like them as an enemy, although they're kind of goofy, a little lame. But when I think about Rose and what we see in Rose and how I was introduced to Doctor Who, that kind of solidifies it for me. But I will say I do like the Vashta Narada. Also a great episode that introduces one of your favorite character in Doctor Who, probably. So yeah, but my vote here is for the Nestine consciousness.
Okay. I'm going to go this time to Nicole next. What say you?
That's a tough decision because, if you think about plastic, it is like pretty much a big enemy of the earth right now. As far as like shadows versus plastic, it's kind of, it's tough. It's tough. I mean, it's not always just mannequins, I mean, who knows? The Nestine consciousness might be taking over your Tupperware. You just don't know. But
we saw them kill somebody with a phone cord. I mean,
that was epic.
Yes,
and a plastic chair.
The
plastic chair.
That was like the greatest moment ever in Doctor Who. I mean, the Master killed someone with a chair. I mean, come on. But I love that the Vashta Narada is one of Moffat's sort of cerebral, but also like the thing that's in your life that you're not usually scared of, but now you are with the shadows. And I just thought that was a really interesting idea. So I think between the two, it is difficult, but I think I'm going to go for Vashta Narada.
All right. Lee Shackleford.
I think I have to do the same for the same reasons. Nestine consciousness, very nasty indeed. But yeah. And we when we got our first real look at him too in Spirit from Space, he looked like somebody's hemorrhoids, and that was
classic hemorrhoids.
Exactly. So I'm not scared. So yeah, Vashta Narada, count the shadows. Yeah.
All right. So I'm going to also, of course, go with the Vashta Narada.
How dare you?
I will say this: I actually went through all these different scenarios with the Autons of their plastic and, they would outnumber and this going to be a tie and et cetera and so forth. And then we actually reviewed Spearhead from Space. And right at the end, when they, and Lee, you're the one that gave me this thought, was right at the end when they are talking about the consciousness being a consciousness, you all of a sudden get these tentacles coming out that are trying to choke the Doctor that are obviously organic. I was like, There you go. That's how the Vestin Errata beats them. The tentacles from Spearhead from space.
Yeah. Yeah.
All righty. Next up, we have, and this one ought to be interesting, Omega, or Omega, however you want to say it, and Rassilon. Omega first appeared in the Three Doctors, 1973. Rassilon in the Five Doctors from 1983. Lee Shackleford, what say you?
I know Nicole has written a dissertation on this, but I will jump ahead by saying Omega because, I mean, come on. That's my argument.
All right.
Good.
Okay. Clarence Brown.
Mine is going to be Omega as well. I mean, I think the look is just iconic. And okay, help me out here. It's been a while since I've seen, I think it's Three Doctors. He doesn't have a face, if I'm remembering.
Yeah,
is that right?
That's my favorite moment. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. That's what I'm remembering. And that is why just that, how iconic that is, I feel. I mean, of course, it's been done in other things, but I just love that it, had a little trouble remembering, but, it kind of stuck with me. And that's the reason I'm going to choose him. And also, Rassilon, I know who he is, but to me, he just makes no real impact on anything I love in Doctor Who. So, yeah.
Yeah. So I'm saving Nicole last because I know she's passionate about these two. So that's why I'm holding off on Nicole. So for me, I'll say everything that you guys said. But for Rassilon, my problem with Rassilon was how they brought that character back in the End of Time, because we've seen this revered character that they were talking about in the Five Doctors, and then you see him, all of a sudden, Rassilon is back, and you really didn't get a good explanation, in my opinion. And then, of course, you get another incarnation of Rassilon a couple of years later. Cool character's concept. Head-to-head, though, Omega all the way. All right, Nicole, what say ye?
Well, obviously, I mean, given the season 13 or series 13 has kind of changed up in a Time Lord history, but both Omega and Rassilon played a really big part in Time Lord history. You had the Rassilon Imprintor, which is like how you can fly the TARDIS, and Omega is like who back in the day, gave time travel to the Time Lords. And so they're both pretty big, but the thing that I like about Omega, not only just over Rassilon, but just in general, that I find him very interesting, is that, well, first of all, like in Three Doctors, he created an entire alternate universe just from his will. I mean, that's pretty hardcore. And I mean, given he was very over the top, he had sort of like this sort of Darth Vader quality where he was just kind of, very over the top. I don't blame him. He was just stuck in this universe with the jail guards, who, by the way, I think are very adorable, but probably not great conversation. So,
No.
I have always found him one of the most fascinating characters. And he might be, it's hard to say over the Master, but he might be my second favorite Time Lord, just because I think he has just a really interesting story. Now, I feel like Arc of Infinity wasn't as good, but in Big Finish, there's a Omega drama that's really good. And I don't know, I just find him a really awesome character. And if asked, I would say he's actually my favorite Doctor Who villain. I don't know if he'll win this, but he is actually my favorite villain. Though I might vote against him just because of,
All right. So for that round, clearly and strongly goes to Omega or Mega, whoever.
Yay.
So, yay. All right.
Depending on where you learned your Greek.
There you go.
I just take the way they say it in the show.
Exactly.
Yeah. All right. So the next two that are up against each other are the Ronnie, who was first seen, and the Mark of the Ronnie, 1985, or Madame Kavorian, first seen in Day of the Moon, 2011. So I'll start this time. I will say that I purposely put these two together because I would love for the Ronnie to spend quite a long time actually experimenting on Madame Kavorian because I don't like her. So for that alone, mine, of course, is going to be The Ronnie with a side of revenge. So, Clarence Brown, the Ronnie or Madame Kavorian? What say you?
You were calling me first. I want to say the Ronnie, but when you think of the impact, I guess, Madame Kavorian had on Amy's story, you might have to choose her. That's a really tough one. I'm gonna say the Ronnie because the stories we've recently watched with her and I really enjoyed, and I felt like she was a good foe for the Doctor to see him go up against another Time Lord. So yeah, I'll choose the Ronnie in this one.
All right. Leash, no, I'm going to go Nicole. Nicole, what say you?
I like both characters, but I will definitely say the Ronnie because I think she's so much fun, and I love in Mark of the Ronnie where she's just kind of stuck between the Master and the Doctor, like as her old classmates, and you can just see her just being like, oh God, they're so annoying, and she's just so perfect pitted against them, and she is a villain, but she's also just kind of a scientist, just kind of doing her thing. And I don't think she necessarily wants to hurt people. I just think she, just wants to do science.
They don't necessarily want to hurt the mouse. They just have to hurt the mouse, right?
Yeah, exactly.
You're going to have to dissect it anyway.
Right.
Yeah.
All right, Lee Shackleford, what say you?
I'm going to have to dogpile on this one, too, with everybody else. I have started thinking about these in terms of victims, and I don't appreciate people messing with Amy. So that's a big point for Madame Kavarian there. But the Ronnie, yeah, she's just a sociopath, and that's always bad. That's bad. Yeah. Sociopathy. Yeah.
Well, Madame Kavorian, she's more of a religious fanatic.
Mm-hmm.
At the end of it,
also dangerous, yeah. But even though I don't think much of the story, but in Time in the Ronnie, she wants to be Thanos,
yeah,
and
right,
yikes.
And that's the thing; she can regenerate. If you kill Madame Kavorian dies, but Ronnie, she just regenerates.
So we got to go with the Ronnie here.
I love that. Thank you, guys. Woohoo! All right, the next one up is The Master, first seen in Terror of the Autons, 1971, versus Davros, Genesis of the Daleks, 1975. Lee Shackleford.
Well, they should have a contest of which of them is harder to kill. Yeah, when I saw this on your spreadsheet, I said, oh, golly, Davros and the Master.
That's two number one seeds against each other. We can't do that.
Yeah, that's yikes. But I guess for all of the horrible things that the Master has done, I always go back to that moment in Genesis of the Daleks when the Fourth Doctor poses him a hypothetical question about him destroying everything, and Davros has only to think about it for a minute and realizes he'd do it. And then later on in the series, of course, in New Who, he comes very close to doing it. Yeah, I think I may have to go with Davros.
Okay. All right, Nicole, what say you?
Yeah, this is a tricky one because I love Davros and I love the Master, and I was trying to think of which one I thought was better. I don't know, but it got me thinking of when Missy and Davros were in a story together, and it made me like Missy even more. So I think because Missy is the Master, I'm gonna have to pick the Master, but it's very close for me. I could tip either way or the other, but I'm going to say the Master in this case. Okay. Clarence, what say you?
It's funny because I feel like the newest version of the Master is my favorite, which, So, and I'm going to go back to what Lee said with Davros and the Genesis of the Daleks. That is I feel like Davros wins because in that story, he feels like the Palpatine version of Doctor Who. He has this whole race of people like working for him on his side, though he's very obviously doing some shady things. And of course, they're trying to further their genetic line on years from now. They're trying to make their genetic line better or whatever. But still, I feel like he was so obviously bad, but they were still willing to follow him. And I have to give him some credit on that for the cunning part of it. I don't feel like I get that as much from the Master, but I don't know. I think Davros wins for that point right there alone.
Okay. So just a little backstory, really, really quick. I've purposely put these two together on tier 1. I at first had the Master and Davros going against maybe Tim Shaw and the Dream Lord. I think that's maybe how I did it. And I changed it because I thought that was too much of a given. And I knew that head to head, we had never seen Davros, to my knowledge, fighting the Master in television proper. They may have in Big Finish, maybe in comics or books or whatever. But since we had not seen that, that's why I put them in the first tier.
Well, they did Missy and Davros with Magician's Apprentice.
But they weren't actually one-on-one, though.
That's true. That's true.
So I'm going to go with Davros, and the reason for it is going back to Genesis of the Daleks. And when you tie that there is a part of the Master, yes, he's maniacal. Yes, there's a part of him that's bonkers, but there's also a part of him that's Missy. And yes, she did horrible things. Yes, she was a villain, but there is a part of her that we know in the Dr. Falls. No spoilers, but there's a part of her that does something or was going to do something or whatever in the Dr. Falls. I think that would be the downfall there. So Davros for me wins.
Yeah. Let me add to that. I think that the Master has aged better. I mean, obviously the Master gets to reinvent himself or herself every, few years, wherever he comes back or she comes back. I feel like with Davros, he hasn't really, he's stale. He doesn't seem fresh and new to me. It seems like going back to watch Genesis up until now, it's pretty much the same.
Yeah.
So from that point of view, I like how at least the Master gets to kind of change like the Doctor does.
All right, cool. So we've got Davros there. So I will start out with the final pair up of this round, and that is the Meddling Monk, which was seen first in the Time Meddler, and then we have the Cyber Leader first seen in Revenge of the Cybermen. I'm going to go with the Monk, because the Monk is a Time Lord and traditionally they have the upper hand. I will say, for anyone giving their opinion before we get to Clarence, we have not reviewed the Time Meddler yet, so don't give the spoiler.
Spoil me. I don't care. You spoil me.
No, it's too good, don't you think, Lee?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I haven't seen it in a long time. So, yeah.
All right. So I'm going to go with the Monk. So, ladies first again. So, Nicole, the Monk or the Cyber Leader?
This is a tricky one, too, because I love Cybermen, and I have a particular soft spot for 80s Cybermen, especially David Banks as the Cyber Leader. I had a bit of a crush on him, I'm not going to lie. And it's just like in my heart. But the Meddling Monk is awesome. And actually, some people have kind of wondered if maybe he's like a prototypical Master or whatever, because he's before the Master comes on the show. But I think if I'm putting them up against each other, even though I really do love David Banks as a Cyber Leader, I think the Meddling Monk is a little more scary because he can play with time and he has a lot more. In a way, it's like the Ronnie, where because they're Time Lords, they can like do stuff that, just somebody who, has a regular lifespan or whatever can't do. So even though the Monk is a little nicer, I'm going to say that he's probably scarier in the end, just from what he can do.
All right. So, Lee Shackleford, what say ye?
I can't decide if I like the Cyber Leader. Yeah, I think Nicole makes a good argument there. I'm going to have to go with the Monk just because of the potential. So
you're just mad at the Cyber Leader for creating that music that I love so much.
I'm mad at the Cyber Leader. Did we get our first Cyber Leader in Tomb of the Cybermen? Speaking of such things.
Oh, is that a Cyber Controller?
Yeah, I think he was considered controller.
Cyber controller is what they call
Because
it.
I thought
Cyber
it
leader
was.
didn't come until the 80s.
Gotcha. Okay. Not sure I know what the difference is, but yeah.
I don't think the show knows.
Yeah, exactly. I do like the controller because he has an exposed brain. I always thought that was cool.
Yeah, I think the leaders have the black hat, the controllers have the brain. Maybe.
Anyway, Monk.
All right,
Yeah.
Clarence Brown, what say you?
Yeah, I'm not even sure I know what the difference is on the cyber leader,
What? Yeah.
Is it a cyber leader or is it multiple cyber leaders through the? On this one, I really don't have a preference. I don't know who the monkey is, and the cyber leader. That character has never jumped out at me and knew who. Though I'm sure we've seen him. So I really don't have a preference on this round.
All right, so we're going to say that the monk wins this round. So let's do this. Since we're already at 1 hour for this next couple of rounds, since we've already talked about the strengths, I'm just going to say who's up against who, and we're going to say who's going to advance. So I'm going to start it off with the Weeping Angels and the Dream Lord. I'm going to go with the Weeping Angel. Does anyone disagree that the Weeping Angel should move forward?
No.
Nope.
I don't know.
All right. So Weeping Angel moves forward. So the next one I'm going to go and give to Clarence and say Dalek Khan versus the Vashta Narada. What say ye?
Are you going to give me this? I have to say the Vashta Narada. For me. But fight me. I mean, I don't know. Yeah, I think we said before. I thought the Dalek Khan was more prominent, but I think the impact of the story with Vashta Narada is probably put him on the top.
All right. Does anyone disagree with Dalek Khan?
No.
Nah.
All right. I am good with Dalek Khan. All right. So that gives us Omega versus the Ronnie, and I'm going to give that to Nicole.
Thank you.
Obviously, Omega. Now you got me saying Omega. Omega.
Okay. Does anyone disagree with Omega moving forward?
Not I.
All right. So, Lee Shackleford, I'm going to give you Davros versus the Monk.
Yeah, no problem. Davros.
All right. So we are down now to the semifinals. I'm not good with brackets. I'm sci-fi. I'm not sports. So we have the Weeping Angels versus Dalek Khan. I'm going to go back to...
No. Oh, was that right? No, it was Weeping Angels versus Vashta Narada, wasn't
did we go to the Vashta?
Am I wrong? I probably got lost.
No, well, I meant to question that earlier too, because that's the way I thought it was going.
Well, hey, we can. I can just retype.
Let me pull up the bracket here.
I'm actually tapping in the bracket.
We should be writing this down. Yeah.
I actually am like moving. I wrote the names down, so I'm like moving them as we go.
Okay.
Oh.
Literally into the brackets. All right.
Wait, did we even do the Tim Shaw Dream Lord matchup?
Yeah, we did that back in the day.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that was Dream Lord versus Weeping Angel.
Okay, gotcha.
And then Weeping Angel won. And then we did Dalek Khan versus Vashta Narada, and Vashta Narada won. So I think it's Weeping Angel versus Vashta Narada.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think you're right.
But who did we say?
I'm also not a sports person. I just remember brackets from roller derby.
but did we say Dalek Khan or did we say Vashta?
We said Vashta.
Okay. All right. So Weeping Angels versus Vashta Narada.
Oof.
What do we all say as a group?
It always gets harder as you go along, doesn't it?
Yeah. Both iconic. Both have a catchphrase. Well, no, Weeping Angels don't really have a catchphrase.
Yeah.
They have a phrase associated with them.
Right.
So do the Vashta. They don't necessarily have the... That was somebody
Yeah, they don't
else.
really say... Well, they just repeat stuff.
Echoes.
Right.
So let me ask the question that someone asked earlier. Have we ever seen a Vashta Narada merchandise?
Yeah, there is actually a bobblehead of the spacesuit with the skeleton in it. Yeah.
Okay.
I've
That's
seen
cool.
that. Yeah.
I've occasionally had a shadow cast over my shirt. I don't know if that counts.
Counts
It's
good as gold.
free.
Yeah. And I've been in an empty library too.
Oh, yeah.
And I once said that I had issues, and I said, where do I keep them? In the library, because I have volumes. Anyway,
I mean, to the general public, weeping angels are probably more well known. Like if you went to a convention, more people would either be dressed as weeping angels or no weeping angels over the Vashta-Nerada.
Yeah.
Okay.
The Vashta-Nerada are just nasty. They're invisible piranha.
Yeah.
I mean,
It's tough.
Okay, how about this one? And I think this might settle it for us. Since Nicole said what she did about a convention, and we've just had an awesome convention called Hulanta 2020 in honor of Alan Seiler for having a convention, and the association of the Weeping Angels with the convention, we're moving the Weeping Angels forward. Are we good with that?
You can't argue with logic like that.
That works. Otherwise, we'd be here all day.
Okay. Right. All right. So the next and final round before we get to the final, Omega or whoever you want to call him versus the diabolically crazy Davros. Anyone?
It's hard. Wow, I actually don't know.
How about this? This is a face-up of literally a face-off of someone who doesn't have a face and someone who looks like he shouldn't have a face.
Right. And sometimes only has a head.
Right.
Right.
Yeah.
Depending on the story. Oh, man.
The cyber leader.
I think I'm going to say Davros has been in better stories. I mean, Omega is really good, but like I think Three Doctors is better than Arc of Infinity in my personal opinion, and as far as TV, Doctor Who. And Davros, I mean, he was in Genesis of the Daleks to start out. I mean, that's like iconic Doctor Who.
Yeah.
Obviously, he's been in other stories since, but I feel like he's probably left more of a mark on the show than Omega, as much as I love Omega.
Yeah.
I love you, Omega.
It wouldn't be Daleks without it.
And Omega has the frown, so he's okay with losing because he's already.
Yes. But does he have a big electric eye right in the middle of his forehead?
Yeah. I mean, Davros can see in the dark, and that's. The Omega can create light, so.
Yeah.
Hasn't Omega been largely forgotten in New Who?
Yeah, I kept thinking he was coming back because, like in Moffat's era, on the back of the laptop, sometimes you'd see an Omega sign, and I was like, "Ooh, is he coming back?" But it never happened.
Yeah, I remember reading that the rumor that when we were hearing Silent Fall was supposed to be at one point Omega.
That would have been cool.
All right, so gentlemen, what say ye? Do you have any thoughts, Davros versus Omega?
Davros.
All right, well then, Davros moves forward to the final round.
Ooh, Davros.
The Weeping Angels. I so did not even expect these two to be at the end, to be honest with you. So this is so cool.
I ship it.
Weeping Angels versus Davros.
Well, they outnumber him, don't they? That's hardly fair.
It's true.
So let me ask you guys this question. Would the Weeping Angels want Davros' life? Would that be something, or would that just give them indigestion?
Honestly, if they sent him back somewhere else in time, he would just create stuff back then. Like he would just work with wherever he was.
Absolutely, he always has. Yeah.
Yeah.
Do we know if the Weeping Angels are vulnerable while they're in their still state or frozen state? Can they be bashed and destroyed?
Broken?
I have wondered about it.
Yeah.
And
they've never brought that up. Probably because there's usually actors playing the Weeping Angels. You don't want to break them.
Yeah.
But I don't know. Davros would know. He would figure it out.
He's thought about it.
Yeah.
And
probably going to be Davros.
They hinted at one point that the Weeping Angels were
Time Lords.
Time Lords. Yes.
Yeah.
Yes, that's right. In End of Time, I think it was.
Yep. Part 2.
Yeah.
That they stand in shame like the Weeping Angels of old.
Right.
So are we saying Davros for the win?
I think so, in my opinion.
It certainly seems like it.
Yep.
All right.
Unfortunately.
Patient Zero win. No, Prisoner Zero.
So for some reason, I'm hearing that, what's your name? Davros, the little boy.
Oh, God.
Oh, yeah.
Or just maybe Davros screaming or something.
Yes, I do hope you'll drop in the appropriate Davros.
For the last time, I am your creator. You must, you will obey me. We obey no one. We are the superior beings. Exterminate!
Etc.
Oh, so this was fun. Davros it for the win. That is cool.
I do want to voice an objection, however.
All right.
I didn't want to bring it up at the beginning, but your list fails to mention Mahendri Solon, who is clearly the greatest Doctor Who villain.
Yeah, I would agree. That's a good one.
Only because he's in my favorite episode. But we've also left out Magnus Greel. Magnus Greel
Yeah, also an iconic story.
is, traveling under the name
Or
of Wang
Sutek.
Chiang.
Sutek
Is also pretty awesome. Yeah.
So I'm seeing episode number 250 coming up.
Yes.
Yes.
I'll make the board this time.
Okay, make the board this time because
And it's going to have Solon and Morbius on it.
The Time Lords destroyed Morbius for his crimes here on Khan.
There's something going on here, some dirty work. The Time Lords are spineless parasites. Morbius offered them greatness once, but he was betrayed and rejected. They'll pay for that mistake, Kondo.
When it is learned that I, Morbius, have returned from the grave, my followers will rise in their millions.
Morbius is dead, Doctor. And you will join him very shortly.
So if you do that, and that is so cool, and please do make it. But I have one request of someone that I did not include in this one, Michael Grade.
He would win.
That's why I didn't put him in here. I was like,
Michael Grade versus
Michael Grade. It would be like
rocks over the board.
Yeah, Michael Grade for the ultimate win.
But you know the runner-up. That's what Cal would say.
I'm coming around. I'm coming around slowly.
I'm not.
Oh,
But I would love Davros versus Michael Grade. That would be awesome. I would watch that episode.
Who has done more to hurt the Doctor?
Oh, that burn. Well, this was fun, guys. I had a lot of fun with this. I hope you guys did too.
Yes. What a fun idea.
Yeah.
Cool. Well,
Can
Nicole,
we reveal what everybody's individual pick was before we started? Or
sure.
'cause I filled it out myself.
Sure, absolutely. Yes, go for it.
So my pick was the Weeping Angels. That was my winner. My personal bracket.
All right. Lee, what was yours?
I felt we were going to end up with the Master.
Yeah, that's what mine came down to.
Mine actually came down to the Master as well.
Wow.
Interesting.
But that's when I noticed that Magnus Greel and Mahendri Solon weren't in the list. So I said, well,
Well,
maybe I won't even play.
maybe you won't, or maybe you'll just, come back with an even more brilliant version for 150.
Oh yeah, now the heat's on. Yeah,
Just don't put the farting aliens on there. That would be bad.
Oh, please put them on there.
I forgot all about the
I can't remember what they're called. It's like I blocked them out of my head.
They're the family Slabine from Roxicor.
Oh, yes. And see, my evil plan worked. You are coming up, all of you, with my no need to have any work done on 100 and 250 because you're doing it for me. Yes.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
So while I'm being diabolical, I must say, Nicole, thank you so very much for having you on again. It is awesome having you. And I would like to ask you to have the opportunity to say, if anybody could find you on the internet, where might they find you?
Probably, like, if you want to hear me talking about Doctor Who, I have a podcast called Terminus at terminus.libsyn.com. Currently on hiatus with the lockdown. I'm trying to get back on that. But otherwise, I haven't been on social media a ton, but that's probably the easiest place to find me. I'll be hanging out with Dave Ross and, no, that was a bad joke. Anyway, but yeah, so that's probably the best place to find me.
Awesome. Mr. Lee Shackleford, where else might you be found on the internet?
Well, I'm going to point people towards relativitypodcast.com, where right now they'll find a charming interview with Stephanie Lindsay. And very soon, believe it or not, new episodes of Relativity.
Yay.
Woo-hoo.
Yes.
All right. Clarence Brown, what say ye?
Yeah, I will point people to techpedition.com, where you can hear me and my brother talk about all things tech. Yeah, techpedition.com.
Awesome. So I will point anyone listening to discussingnetwork.com. That will take you to all the shows that are part of our Discussing Network. And it is, again, discussingnetwork.com. So thank you, everyone, for joining us for episode number 200 of Discussing Who. As again, we are glad that you are with us. And as always, we will be back next time.
Affirmative.
You've been listening to the Discussing Network. Find out more at discussingnetwork.com.